Welcome to episode 30 of the Press Forward podcast. I'm Nathan Wrigley, and I'd like to thank you for joining us again. And if this is your first time with us, well, I really hope that you like it and that you find it useful. We'd love it if you added us to your list of podcasts that you consume regularly. You can do this by subscribing to us on your favourite podcast player. This can be done by going to wpnup.org/podcast-feed. Today, we're going to be talking to Vito Peleg. But before that, let me tell you a little bit about why we're making this podcast. The Press Forward podcast is created by WP&Up. If you've heard this podcast before, then you'll know about their mission. But if you're new around here, then let me take a moment to explain a little. WP&Up are a non-profit working in the WordPress space. They are here to offer support and mentorship to anyone who feels that they may need it. The confines of that support are wider than you might expect. Along with supporting mental health related issues, you might not know that WP&Up also try to assist with other areas too. Broadly speaking, we have 4 health hubs: mental health, as I just mentioned, physical health, business health, and skills health. But what does all that mean? I think that the mental and physical health aspects are slightly more obvious. But what about business and skills health? Well, business health is about supporting you and your business. You might be facing a new challenge in your business. Too much or too little growth. Working to create new processes. The list could be truly endless, but it's likely that someone has been there before you and worked through a similar problem, and their mentorship might be just what you need to get yourself on the right path. Skills health is about the specific skills that you need to carry out your job. This could be a particular WordPress issue, or finding out about how to keep up with the ever-moving world of technology. At its core, it's about sharing and linking you up with people who can support you at a time when you feel you need it. This support is free to use, but I'm sure that you'll understand that WP&Up have costs to bear. For that reason, we're always on the lookout for people who are willing to donate to our important work. It doesn't have to be a lot. We've been lucky so far to have supporters like WPMU Dev and Green Geeks, but your donation would be most welcome. If you're able to help WP&Up, please visit wpandup.org/donate. Thank you. The Press Forward podcast is brought to you today by Green Geeks. Green Geeks offers an awesome managed web hosting platform that's built for speed, security, and scalability whilst being environmentally friendly. Enjoy a better web hosting experience for your WordPress website, backed by 24/7 expert support. And we thank Green Geeks for helping us to put on the Press Forward podcast. Today we hear from Vito Peleg, and it's a fascinating story. He's an agency owner and the founder of WP Feedback, a plugin for working with your WordPress clients. We talk about his highly unusual start in website building, from the back of a van whilst touring with his band, how he had to work when he could, and how he juggled 2 completely different work personas at the same time. We also talk about his decision to move to website work full-time and his desire to grow an agency, how he managed to get this up to 12 people, the issues that arose along the way and how he coped with them, and where he looked for support. He's a very energetic character, and so towards the end we get into the topic of how he manages to keep his energy going when times are hard. And so, without further ado, here's Vito Peleg.
My name is Vito, and I run a digital agency here in London, and I'm also the author and the founder of a WordPress plugin that is just about to launch. So I actually started building websites from the back of my van, when I was touring with a band that I had back then. Basically, we were dead broke, and I was looking for a way to make just like an extra money for the end of the month while we were going around the world. I already had experience building websites, mostly for myself. I had a few kind of, if you remember that AdSense era where you do like a blog and just sprinkle ads all over the place. So I had a few of these that were generating some revenue before Google changed their things, and I built websites for the bands and for some friends. So it was kind of a natural thing to go into and to start learning. I was already proficient in all of the Adobe softwares and so on. So that was kind of a natural progression to go into web. And so that I started by building websites from the back of the van, which was amazing for me at the time, but also really stressful. Yeah, everything is moving all around, and whatever you type in twice because the keyboard kind of backlashed into the finger. Yeah, it wasn't easy. And sometimes you get into the venue in the evening, and you got to finish the project. So the guys were drinking outside, and I was sitting in a broom cabinet, just finishing the revision round. That was the basis of it, and I enjoyed it. I actually had fun building websites and exploring my creativity in a different way.
It all seems like the kind of life that many of us have dreamed of. Touring with your band all over the place, living out of the back of a van with your fellow band members. But, as Vito described, it wasn't all plain sailing. It was hard to get work done in a moving vehicle, but somehow he did manage to get the work done. I'm sure that you'll know what I'm talking about when I say that finding new clients can be hard if you've got a fixed address and an office, but it must have been really hard if there was no office or fixed address for people to contact Vito.
Initially, it started just through word of mouth. So someone, I posted something on Facebook, and someone said, "Oh yeah, I know someone that is looking for a website." I think that the first project that I did on the road was for this seamstress, really random website, and I think I charged like £500 for it, which I wouldn't do nowadays. But that was kind of like that would made sense to me back then. And from there, it just started spreading. People were seeing the stuff that I was doing with the band, which gave a lot of impact to it. Because we were approaching a couple of thousands of people every day through our outreach online for the band. So people went into the website, and I put like a little link at the bottom of my new agency, quote unquote, right? Because it was just myself. I called it the same name. So the name of the band was Chase the Ace, and the name of the agency till today is Ace Digital. So it kind of grew from there. Yeah, word of mouth was the strongest thing at the beginning, and that what kind of got me to the place where it was sustainable enough to actually hire the first guy even after the band broke up, which is something that I could have done a lot earlier. But being on the road, you can't really do that. You can't take responsibility over another person that you're not there. You're not there to train them. You're not there. So it was essential to ground myself in one place and then start scaling from there.
As I said earlier, this seems like a fun and energetic lifestyle, one full of late nights and likely lots of parties. But it also seems like it could be quite a stressful lifestyle too. Website work to do during the day, gigs to play in the evening, no reliable internet connection to allow you to do your work. The list goes on. So I asked Vito if his life at this time was stressful.
Yes, actually, it was kind of a constant struggle when you're in a band and when you're touring the world, especially as the lead singer. There's so much stress on you because once you lose your voice, that's it. You have 20 shows booked ahead, and you lose your voice once, and it's all done. You can't do it. It's not like you can change the strings like on a guitar or something like that. So I had to really keep myself calm and give myself away from, in the early tours, in the first few tours, I was going all out. We would get, especially in Europe, when you get to a venue, they'd give you like a crate of beer for each band member. So we made it a mission to finish each crate of beer for each person for every night. That was the first couple of tours, but then you kind of get used to the thing and you calm down a little bit. But yeah, it's really stressful to just do. Well, I was managing the band. First of all, I was leading the band in terms of the business side of things, and I was the lead singer, and I was building websites while doing that. But I'm always kind of proactive, I'm kind of a proactive kind of guy. So it just made sense to me back then. I have so much free time because you're just sitting in a van. What are you going to do? Just either play bubbles on your phone or do something productive. So to me, that kind of made sense to leverage that time. And while I was on the road, I met a few other musicians that we toured with or that we kind of shared the stage with that were in the same scenario, either graphic designers or web designers, just, in the backstage just before the sound check or between the sound check and the show, just wrapping up some things, sending to clients, leveraging the Wi-Fi from the venue. It's basically a journey between one hotspot to the other. That's a summary of the experience.
So, for reasons that we never explored, the band is no more. And that meant that Vito had to transition from that lifestyle to another one. And the obvious choice was to ramp up his website building work. So I asked him how that transition happened.
So to be honest, even though we were doing pretty well in public standards, we released 2 albums and we were touring, and it's from the outside it looked like we're doing well. But being in a band, especially in a rock band, it's really, really hard financially. So even before that, the money that I was doing from the building websites and doing graphic design projects and stuff like that, some of it went into the band rather than the band supporting this new adventure. So when eventually the band kind of broke up, to me it was a complete shock. It was something that, and I think this is something that a lot of people in our community are going through as well. In most cases, you don't really plan to be a web designer. You know what I mean? It's not something that you kind of grow up fantasizing about. That's what I want to do with my life, and that's my full-on passion. You discover this, and you roll into it, and you kind of fall in love with it over time. It's not something that you put as a goal before you even tried it. So my thing was I wanted to be a musician. That's why I came to England. That's what I did for 15 years. So it was a huge shock for me after the band broke up, especially being the leader of the band, but realizing how little power I had over the fact that it just crumbled before my eyes in a matter of 2 weeks. It's just from the minute that the first guy said, okay, it's not for me anymore, until the third guy out of 4 was like, okay, let's just move on. We're 30. So the first thing, I already had like a box size room in our house that was kind of my office for the band and for the web design business. So every morning you would get up and I would go into that office. My wife got me a little a plaque on the door that says Shark Tank. Just to kind of like push me to that next level, which worked, I guess. And you just start pounding at it. Luckily, I had a lot of work already from the beginning, so I was pretty packed in terms of clients and ongoing stuff. I think that some freelancers, and I'm like myself, I'm helping a few friends that are doing this transition now. I'm just trying to coach them and trying to help them get to that next level. This downtime that sometimes happen, this is a huge impact on moral. First of all, look on your energy. If you have like a couple of months with no one coming in, you start stressing out. You're not really sure what's going to happen. And in most cases, if you haven't experienced it before, you probably haven't saved anything for that downtime. But because I was a musician, you're always you're always saving, you're always kind of, living in loss, I guess. So I kind of knew to do that. Previously to that, I was a guitar teacher. So when you're a teacher, there's these 3 months over summer where there's no one. Everyone's on holiday. So I always knew to kind of like keep some money aside for those downtimes that I experienced in other stuff that I've done before. That really helped, and so that's a huge thing to do. Whenever you can, or even if you can't, just taking like 10% and putting it to the side as this rainy day fund for the business. I don't even mean for your personal stuff, or whatever comes your way in the personal lives. I mean, just for the business, to make sure that you do get the income that will sustain you over those downtime, over those months that you have no clients coming in. So that was really helpful for me. It was never a challenge to get clients, especially in the beginning. It became a challenge when I started scaling up, when I started having a team. And when you start, so my logic at the time was, okay, now I'm doing 150% of my time is going to delivering projects and doing like client work. So let's just get another guy and give him 50% of it. And so that I can build more, so and he will build that 100%, and then we have two, and just repeat that process again, get myself to 150% capacity, and then pass that 50% to someone else and keep building their role. That was the model for a long time. But then you get to a point where you gathered the team, and then you get this downtime. So the impact is like 10 times bigger than it was before when you have 10 guys, obviously. So you got to make sure that everyone's livelihood is in check, and it all comes down to me, to the business owner, to make sure that everyone can pay their rent and everyone can eat and everyone is happy, even if you're not.
Vito managed to grow his agency to 12 people. And if you've run or worked at an agency of any size, you'll know that it comes with a whole variety of pressures. Client expectations, balancing the books, keeping new work coming through the door. There's obviously more than that, but I wanted to know what it was that Vito found to be the most challenging aspects of running his agency.
So I would say the most stressful part of the scale-up process was making sure that we hit the financial goals every month so that everyone could get paid. That was the biggest pain for me, because I was in this mode of growth. So it wasn't about the profits, which now I think it was the wrong choice. But at the time, that was my mindset. It wasn't about profit. It's about growing, and then eventually you will have profit, But looking back, it was more of magnifying the problem. And the problem was that I didn't have proper systems in place, which led to the fact that what I was doing at like 1 hour, the guys were doing at 5 hours. It took them 5 hours to do. So just accounting for that difference between different mindsets, different kind of people, different, energy levels. Even from talking to you, Nathan, we've hung out a few times before. I'm a really energetic kind of person, and I'm on. But not all of your employees will be like that. And that's something that I had to learn the hard way. I had this guy, I think it was my first guy that came in, my first guy that I hired. I was just impressed by his design. So I was like, yeah, come on, we'll make it work, we'll do it. Horrible. That was so stressful. And especially coming from a point of view of being in a band is like a family. So it's not about firing someone and bringing someone else. It's about, making the most out of this core group of your best friends that, you want to do something creative with. So that was my mindset as well. I tried to make it work with them. The last thing that he said before I told him, okay, it's not going to work, was he came to the office one day and said, I need the day off tomorrow. I was like, yeah, sure. But why? I have a modeling gig. I'm going to do I'm going to be a model. It's like, what? We have work. Yeah. So, yeah, but I think it's a cool opportunity. I'm going to go do a photo shoot,
It can be hard dealing with employees and the needs that they have. But I wanted to ask Vito something about the processes that he developed over this time to make his business more efficient. Procedures that he devised, systems that he adopted, which made some aspects of the business easier to run and maintain.
I would say that, delivering projects as a freelancer is different than having a team. First of all, you have a lot more freedom over when you're going to do things and how you're going to do them, and people accept that. But once you move to that agency model and you're presenting yourself as an agency, as a, let's call it like a proper business, not a freelancer that is doing this here and there, that's when people expect you to treat them like that. So this means that while we got bigger projects, the timelines and the deadlines became a lot more strict, and so we had to confine to them. We had loads of problem with scope creeps because I wasn't systemizing this properly. I had no problem saying no, but when I wasn't there, and when the client was communicating with one of my guys, then things just kept getting back and back, back and forth, endless back and forth, and adding features and doing revisions. And I had the biggest thing, and that was a huge lesson for me. I priced a project that I thought it was a pretty decent project, and I priced it for £15,000. It ended up, after I calculated because I was tracking time with everyone, which is really important, having like a little software that tracks hours and tracks minutes, per task and everything. So when I looked back and I was kind of loose about it because I thought, okay, I did £15,000 out of this. What can I do to lose money from this project? But apparently, when I was looking back, the project should have cost 45,000. And all of this extra cash, the extra 30K, came out of my own pocket without even noticing, just through lost time and through additional requests that weren't accounted for as the project began. Yeah, that was a huge, this realization was really sobering. And when you get this lump in your stomach, when you see a number and you get that thing. So when I saw that 45, it was 47, I think 47 something. When I saw that at the total, after doing the report, I just felt this thing in my stomach, and it took a long time to get it to go away. Everyone was working. That wasn't the problem, and that's what kind of got me to think that, okay, everything is going on track, because I see the guys, head on into the screen. But I wasn't aware that the client was talking directly to the designer and just adding features and doing requests, changing and going back to the same registration form like 10 times again and again, and just changing, and just a proper scope creep. We know this term. I had to learn this term from that client before that I didn't even realize what it means. But after that, I became really conscious of this thing. I wouldn't say that it doesn't happen still. There are still clients that come back, and projects do become unprofitable in some cases. But I do know to put the stop when the client goes overboard, and I just go in and I speak to the client myself and explain to them that it makes no sense to keep doing stuff, and a website is ever evolving, and you can't just keep changing things. And a sentence that I really like is that speed to market trumps perfection. And I think that this is something that I'm trying to teach all my clients. I'm trying to live by myself with all the projects that I'm doing. It's more about just getting it out there, because you never know if something's gonna work or not. Anyway, you just gotta put it in front of people and see how they react, and then refine it. So once you have a team, it's important to do the meetings. I don't really like doing meetings, but I try to force myself to do that. And if I miss the weekly one, I try to do one with each, or just go between the guys. My team is spread around the world and in the office here. So I do like Skype calls, and I do these kind of things. It's really important to have a communication system. Communications is everything. That's the gist of it, If you can communicate properly with your team and with your clients, you have a good business. So structuring that, and jumping between different platforms and trying all kinds of different solutions until I found what works best for our use case took a long time, but we tried everything from spreadsheets to phone calls to different project management systems, support desks, different chats. We used to use Skype even to chat with the entire team at the beginning before we moved to Slack, and then we moved to Teamwork. So just figuring out which process is the right one for you. But I would say it's more about this mindset of being conscious of the fact that you need processes, that it is important to list down what you're doing so that you can pass this on to someone else properly.
One of the things that WP & Up is trying to do is to assist people with their businesses, should they feel that they have a need. Perhaps you have run into something new that you don't know how to solve. Perhaps you're just looking to improve a process that you already have. It's entirely possible to come up with solutions all by yourself, but wouldn't it be nice to have some support from people who've already experienced that same issue? Someone who can support you through it. I wondered if Vito had a trusted source for such business issues. A course? A person? A mentor?
So that was kind of crazy, and I think that this is something that we all go through ourselves. And this opportunity, what you're talking about, is going to be incredible for people. I wish I had that a few years ago. When I realized that, I went on Google and I tried to find if there is like a bundle of processes for a digital agency. It makes so much sense to have something like that, and I would just buy it and have it, but there was nothing like that. And so I resorted to what most people do, which is going to courses. So I took all kinds of courses. I did like the WP Elevation one, and I've been doing courses since then, like loads of different ones. The Digital Marketer, the Linda ones, now the LinkedIn things, and consulting.com. So I'm always educating myself so that I can build the right processes. I don't count on anyone else to give them to me by this point. Even the stuff that I do find online, I feel that I can make them a little better, even if that makes sense, or at least more fitting to my needs. There is a learning curve that has to happen when you build a new process. And well, if I can tap into the knowledge that others have burnt doing what we're trying to do already, So why not learn from their experience and try to find something that already works? I always love that solution. That's really inspired by the WordPress ecosystem. That's how we do things, Just find something that works and make it your own.
Earlier, Vito mentioned that he has a distributed team. Some people in the office with him, but there are a few of them dotted around the globe. I was curious to know how this was all managed, how they managed to keep in touch and stay on the same page with all the tasks that they have going on.
So about the remote team, the distributed team, I hired actually my first developer while I was still on the road, because that didn't require me to be in one position. It was a girl from India. Oh, actually, no, that's not true. There was one guy before that who worked with me for a few months and then completely disappeared. I had no idea where he went. We were in middle of a project, and that was really, really stressful because I didn't know how to, I'm more on the design side. So I'm more like HTML, CSS, front-end stuff, and not so much on the PHP bit. So I rely on my team to deliver PHP-related tasks. And this guy just disappeared one day, But so he just disappeared one day, and that was really stressful, especially while on the road. I tried doing like Upwork, and I tried going all kinds of different routes. Eventually, what I found was the most beneficial was to find a company that manages a bunch of people abroad and hire a dedicated resource from them. So you get one guy that is he does only your stuff, but he has a place, he has an office, he has an employer that can shout on him when needed. And that was a transformative thing for the business, to find out that these companies exist and to find someone, within these companies that can help me grow even more. And it makes it easier as well, because, if I need a new developer, I just go to a few of these guys and I tell them, okay, this is the job description. You go and you hire someone, send me the CVs, and they do the work for me, and I hire the guy through them. Every day of being a business owner is stressful. That's part of the game, as I see it, because you do have that responsibility on your shoulders, and I embrace it. I'm not afraid of taking responsibility, and I think that this is something that I had to build within myself through these courses, through reading books about this, through listening to podcasts and reading articles, and just bettering myself and priming my mind to be able to cope with these situations. I would say that in terms of if I can say that everything is going well and I'm stress-free months ahead, no, not at all. I had an experience with niching down last year. So this is something that was, everyone's talking about niching down, right? That's the That's a hot topic. So I took the advice and I niched down. So I went through the process of finding which niche I'm going to go after. Basically, I went through a process where I looked at my existing clients and I figured which ones I want more of. And that's how I niched down. So I wanted to work with more charities. I have few charity clients that I really enjoy working with, and I like the fact, because we're also doing a bit of marketing services, I like the fact that the money that we're generating was going to a good cause. Rather than to someone's pocket, if that makes sense. But it was really, really hard. You jump into an area where there are other people that have been there for more than a decade already. You got to stand out to just assert yourself. And also, when I was considering this niche, I was looking only at the upside. I was looking at, okay, I have this client and I love working with him. I have that client and I love working with her. And they have nice websites. They're always happy. They come back for more stuff. We keep building more and more things for them. So that's perfect. I just need a few more of these and I'm golden. I forgot that at the beginning, acquiring these clients was a nightmare, because when you're in a charity, you have the board. And the board doesn't care about anything. All they care is about the bottom line. They don't see investment long term. In most cases, especially when you're working in the digital field, the average age for a board member in the UK is 76. So imagine teaching 76-year-olds, a group of 76-year-olds, that it's important to have a proper website and it's important to invest into digital strategies and this kind of stuff, instead of sending snail mail and creating yearly functions. So that was a huge challenge. It did work, but it was eventually I cracked it. But it was so stressful, and we got into a bit of debt, which was the first time in my life that I got into debt. I crawled out of there. I didn't. It wasn't like shooting out of this pit. It was clamping to everything you can to just try and get yourself out of this situation.
Being a freelancer, it's easy for me to keep track of what it is that I need to generate each month in order to be profitable. My income is this, and my outgoings are this, and from there I know what's what. But when you have a team, suddenly it's more complex. It's not just you. If you're in the red, then that impacts your team members. So I wondered how Vito manages his finances in relation to his team.
Well, the profit at the top goes to me, if there is any. But in most cases, it was, especially in those times, it was just the race to that number. So I had the number written on my notebook. Every morning you go in and I look at the number that I need to reach, and I just hypothesize of ideas of what I can do to reach that, what projects I can expedite, what clients I can upsell, what marketing strategies I can or techniques I can implement this week that will get me a few calls next week, and so on. I think that one of the most transformative things was creating a machine that will drive leads in. That was, once that happened, things became a lot brighter. And I think that, even speaking with some of the guys at WordCamp where we met, a few people came to me and asked me about this. I like to call them machines, because a machine is predictable. You flick on the light in your room and the light will go on, even though it needs to go all the way back to the power plant and back to you just to make it happen. Process and the system is so optimized that it's seamless. You don't even think about the fact. You just flick on the light and it's on. And that's what I believe that a marketing machine should look like. And it takes time to get it to this point. Like it took time for Edison to get the light bulb to work. But once you do, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing for the business to have a marketing machine that drives leads every day. So everything, I said before that everything is about communications, and that's true. But having the right communication and knowing how to communicate properly is a mindset thing. So if you want to run a business and if you want to grow the business, you can't be yourself. That you have to change. You have to evolve to become someone else, someone that can face those new challenges and can face those new stress levels to accommodate the growth that you want to achieve. And that's what I mean by like mindset forming habits. So it means trying to figure out the things that you're doing during the day that will help you structure or reprogram your mind in a way that will allow you to reach your goals. That's just might seem a bit spiritual to some. I think people look at these things as kind of the a law of attraction and these kind of, you know what I mean? But it's true. It might. I think it was just like fluffed up by over time. But the core of it is true. You have to envision that perspective of what you want to achieve. So, for example, mindset forming habit is having the notebook here where I list down everything that I do more than once. If I do it twice, I write it down and I try to systemize and automate it or pass it on to someone. So you just have to prime your mind to become who you want to become. And I think the coolest thing to look at this, and that's like the best analogy that I like to imagine it in, is like you remember this game Sims, The Sims, I think it was called. So you're in control of this avatar that is moving around this world, this virtual world, and like any other video game, you just tell it what to do, and it does it. If it doesn't do it, you force it to do it. And that's how I try to see things. So if I don't want to wake up and do my morning workout, or if I don't want to call the client because, I can't be bothered talking to this guy again, I just try to get out of my mind and see myself as that Sim character sitting in the office. And I just tell myself, you do it, you got to pull the strings from above. The body is just a body. That's what the mind tells it, in the same way like the player tells the avatar in a video game.
Vito, as I'm sure you'll have heard, is a very positive person. He's full of energy and he wants to succeed in all that he does. But I wanted to know if this was something that he's able to maintain. Many of us don't think like he does, and so I asked him if his always-on approach was something that he's not always able to maintain. Perhaps sometimes this positive energy slips away.
Yes, it does happen sometimes. I think that this is kind of I've even wrote this on the notes here of staying strong, and I like to call it killing the monkey on the shoulder, because that's this kind of mindset that you got to avoid. You can't let yourself get into these games. You can't let yourself go into these destructive and poisonous thoughts that things are not going to go your way and it's just not going to happen. And we all have these things, and it's still there every single day. But I just catch it and I throw it, and I catch this thought and I just release it. And you got to flip yourself when this happens. Or if it's not for you, you need to stop. If it's not something that you see yourself doing, don't do it. That's the I think the best advice that I can give. If it's not for you and you feel that you're overwhelmed by all of this, just go get a job. It's fine. It's not that bad. And actually, if you're struggling to make ends meet by being a freelancer, or struggling to build your own business, and you can't find the strength to gather the knowledge, because the knowledge is out there, we're not the first people that are growing businesses. We're not the first people that are doing this transition from freelance to agency to scalable product to whatever. Everything's been done before. So you just need to tap into this knowledge. And if you're not strong enough, or you don't feel that it's interesting, or you're not passionate enough about going to this thing, why would you do this to yourself and be a freelancer with not one boss? Because when you're a freelancer, you don't have one boss. You have all of your clients. They're all your bosses. So you just duplicated the problem that you thought you were solving. But yeah, so that's kind of the way that I tackle this. I just try to kill that monkey every day and a few times a day. Well, it's easier said than done, that's for sure. I can say that I have a few techniques that I'm using to fix that. So when I'm feeling down, I have a 25-minute recording of myself telling me how awesome I am. And I have it on my iPhone. So I listen to this too. And if I wake up and I'm not really in the mood, I listen to this on the way to the office. I wrote it down first. It's also it's a known tool for mindset optimization, like positive affirmations. And so, but if you're listening, well, and you can listen to the stuff on Spotify or even on YouTube, there's loads of these positive affirmations that it's great. It's really empowering to listen to. But once you do it for yourself, it's like 10x the impact, because you're telling yourself that you're the best marketer in the world, and you're telling yourself that you're a golden genius, and you can say whatever you want, because that's not who you are today. That's who you're transforming. And I think that, like, when I recorded it, I wrote down that I need to work out every day. The affirmation, I have it here. I have it here in the office. But basically, I'm saying something like, I enjoy working out every day. I wake up every morning just waiting to go into the gym and start lifting weights. And it's so far from the truth. It's unbelievable. And, listening in the recording, I can hear myself trying to say it, like I couldn't believe myself in the recording when I was saying it. But after a few months, it was like, okay, I guess I need to go to the gym this morning.
One of the purposes of the Press Forward podcast is to lift the lid on topics that don't get talked about often enough, to allow people to share their stories so that others might listen, and by listening they may gain an understanding that they're not alone. There are other people out there who have faced the same situations that you are facing. They have found a way through and can offer support to you on your journey. Maybe that person's already in your life, but they might not be. And that's what WP & Up is here for, to connect you with the support that you need. So, if you're able to, please help us, so that we can continue to support the WordPress community. You can donate at wpandup.org/donate. The Press Forward podcast is brought to you today by Green Geeks. Green Geeks offers a specially engineered platform that gives WordPress users web hosting that is designed to be the fastest, most secure, and scalable hosting available in multiple data centers. Their WordPress hosting makes deploying and managing WordPress websites easy with automatic one-click install, managed updates, real-time security protection, SSD RAID 10 storage arrays, Power Cacher, and expert help 24/7. to make for the best web hosting experience. And we thank Green Geeks for their support of the Press Forward podcast. Okay, that's it for this week. Please let us know if you're enjoying the podcast, if you're finding it useful or helpful. You can reach out to us at wpandup.org/contact. There's a serious point to all of this though, and that is that WP & Up is here to provide help and support. That help is available to you, or people that you know, and can be easily accessed at the wpandup.org website. Please spread the word about this podcast, tell your friends and subscribe on your favourite podcast player. And remember that together we can #press forward.